First step of loading the 300 HD UV printer is getting your A-film. So on the back of the machine here we've got these two media holders. One of these will be fixed in place on the left hand side once you have run this a few times and you've got this in the right spot. But for now we can just place it wherever and make the adjustments later. So then on the right side we're going to press this one in, and we want to make sure it's on there pretty firm so this roll can't slip left and right while it's printing. And then we just twist these dials on each side and that'll lock it in place. And then on the tension knobs here, it's going to be a fairly firm tension just so this roll can't slip backwards as well when it's printing. So this is going to slide underneath this tension bar and then run parallel to this back plate heading up to the platen. Also noting it's going underneath this little tension bar here. And then we're going to push that forward, and with the machine on, the vacuum is going to hold that in place. And then we just want to make sure that the roll is flush on both sides. We don't have it sliding across, otherwise it won't run straight. So as you can see now, we've just got an A-film sitting in place. And then what we're going to do is make sure these rollers are open, and that's controlled by this dial on the right. So I'm going to turn that clockwise until it remains open. And then we're just going to push the A-film through and down till it pokes out the bottom here. And then what you want to do is hold this two hands, one on each side. And we're just going to pull that with even pressure on both sides. That way it's going to be as straight as possible. And once we got that in there, we're just going to hold it in the middle just to keep some tension on it, and then twist that knob backwards counterclockwise, and that's going to drop these rollers, and now the A-film is held in place. So then we have to move on to the B-film. So it's got these little covers here that we just twist to expose the channel in here, and then this has a notch in the left side which keys into one of these slots here. So when that comes out, you just lift out and up. And then you get your B-film, slide this one in, and then you'll get it roughly center on that holder. And then you'll find the start of the film, and we want to make sure that it's looking like it's in this orientation when it goes in here. So we don't want it going like this. We want it coming basically from underneath. And then same process as it came out. It will slot into the little notch on the left side and then just drop on the right. And then we twist these covers over. That way the B-film can't then come out under pressure. And then this tension knob on the left hand side will be fairly loose. It's just enough so that the roll can't free spin, it'll just stay in place. And then we've got another tension bar here, which the B-film is going to go on top of and then come forward. And then at the moment we're just looking to see how centered the A and the B-film is. So as you can see, we need to probably go just a touch to the right. Till it's roughly centered on that roll. And then we'll just bring it forward a little bit, and then we're just going to tuck it under. Now with that tucked under, we'll press the down arrow on the front control, which is then going to pull the B-film through. And then with that in place, we're then just going to lift the rollers one more time and then pull both of these rolls together. That will then align them and then have the machine run straight. So then hold it again, one hand on each side, pulling with even tension, and then just give one hand in the middle to hold it in place, and then you're going to drop that bar down. So now we've got the A and the B film together. We then have to set up the take up for the liner on this A film. So we're just going to lightly score this with a sharp knife, which will then allow this plastic to peel away. And then you're just going to push this backwards And now this is where the tension bar, which is located right here, will then catch this liner so it can't go down any further. Then there's another bar here. So it's going to go over the first one and under the second one, and then it'll go underneath this take-up unit here. So we don't have quite enough. So what we're going to do is just go to the front and just advance the film a bit further now. And then we can pull a bit more of that liner. So going over the first bar, under the second one, and then under the cardboard tube. And then we're just gonna, same with the A-film that we did on the front, is pull it even with 2 hands. And then keep tension on that, and just make sure we're on the tube. So we're kind of centered on this tube on each side. So I'm just gonna pull that, keep even tension on it, and then get some tape. And then start with the middle, stick that one down, and then just put 2 more pieces on the left and the right. And then we're just going to click the forward arrow, which is just going to engage this take up. And then the tension on this is kind of medium, I'd say. Just so it's not aggressively pulling on this film, it's just keeping it taut so it's out of the way of the A-film. Alright, so we've got the film loaded in the machine. Now we just want to check our nozzles, make sure everything's printing fine. So the first thing you want to check is in the machine. So we're going to open the front cover, and you'll want to find the edge of your A-film. And now coming down low here, there's another measuring tape here. So what we can see here is our A-film is roughly within the 40 to 50 mil mark on that measure there. So we want to head into the settings page. Now in here you'll see X margin. Based on that measure we were around 50 millimeters. So we're going to make that 50. That's just so we don't print on the actual platinum, we actually print on the A-film. Alright, so now we can go to the top bar here that says check. And then the machine's just going to do a test print, make sure all of our nozzles are firing properly. And then to get a better look at this, we can press that down arrow to bring it forward. And then we're just looking at all of these little nozzles here. A good way to check is this vertical bar on the left. Make sure it's really full. We don't want to see a lot of missing chunks out of that. Any lines in there basically would affect your print quality. So if you're doing really like faint colors or something and you're missing a few lines, you'll see quite a bit of banding in there. And if you're missing a few, you can do a clean on the machine and then check again and see how it improves. So what we're going to do here is just print out a file. So we've just got one in our queue here. We're going to hit print. And then we're just going to observe the machine, see how it's printing, making sure everything's running straight. So we're just basically keeping an eye on the right side of that A-film there, making sure it's not moving to the left or the right. We just want to see it moving in a consistent line. And then if I open up the front cover, we'll see on the platen here, the A-film, we want to make sure that it's quite flush with the top of that platen there. So sometimes you might get some little gaps start to form in here, which can eventually build up over time. And gaps like that raise the A-film up, which causes the potential for a head crash. So we're just keeping an eye on that at the moment, just making sure heat is in the right setting, and we've also got enough pressure and even pressure as well, just to make sure everything's moving straight and in line with each other. So if you're noticing any gaps start to form on the left or the right, it's likely a sign that you'll need to adjust the dials underneath the left or the right. So just to add a little bit more pressure onto that area. Also, the heat being too high can definitely cause random issues with the film not running straight or flat. And then we've also got this take-up unit down here. And the way to use this is very simple. Just get a piece of tape, and then you can pull the media just to make sure it's in the middle of each side of that tube. Just add a bit of tape running along there. Now it's a bit easier to do this with a bit less material. So if you've got a bit of excess here like I do, you can just get a knife and just trim a little bit off. Place your tape on there, and then keep it taut a little bit. I like to put 2 hands on each side with even pressure, and then just basically push my hands under, sticking that tape in place, and then pushing the button here with 2 lines, which is going to engage this motor, and it'll slowly start winding up the finished print. Now you don't want to have too much pressure on this, as it can start to cause a drag on the print at the front, which can cause your calibration to kind of be altered a little bit. So you just want it enough, just so it's slowly taking up the film. It'll be a little bit taut here, and that's really what we're looking for. So this is a video on how to put together the extraction unit for the HD printer. So in the box that comes with the machine, you'll find a bag of screws here, and you'll need about 8 of these. And then you've got a few components. So we've got the base plate, we've got 2 feet here, and then we've got a vertical and a horizontal brace as well. So the first step of putting this together is just on the underside, just screwing in these feet. Alright, and then we'll just need an Allen key and 2 of the screws. And then on this side here, which is on the left side when you're looking from the front of the machine, you'll see 2 threaded holes. And then this part is just going to sit in line with the brace. You'll find it has a slot which fits around, and then the 2 screws will just go into the holes on each side. Just get that centered up, and then you can get your Allen key and just lock them in. And then you also just want to make sure the feet aren't pushing up on the plate, which can bend the metal. So I've actually wound them up a bit too far, and they're kind of floating. So I'm just going to drop them down a little bit, just so they're making contact with the ground. Now it won't feel like there's any pressure on here, so as soon as they hit the ground, just give it a few more turns, and that's good. And then we've just got the main extraction unit, which just sits on top with the dial and the power button facing the front. And then you've got a plug out the back. We're then going to put the braces on, which will also have 2 holes on each side. 2 of the same screws go in this one. Put them on hand tight for now. Then we'll need the next piece, and 4 screws for this part. So we'll just move the hose out the way. And then there's 2 more holes on this end. And then these two parts just join together with two screws. Keeping those hand tight again. And then on this end, there'll be two holes in the leg of the printer, which another two screws will go into. And then the same for the other side. And once everything's in place, you can use the Allen key to tighten everything down. Okay, so the whole stand is assembled there now. So we just have to take care of this tube and the cable that comes from the back. So you'll already have one of these plugs occupied with the take-up unit. So this will have a notch in the base, also a notch in the actual fitting on there. And they just line up, go in, and then it's got a little clamp on it, which threads onto the back so the plug can't come out, and that's locked in. Now on the end of the hose we have a clamp, so just loosen that off a little bit. And then you can go underneath those cables, and then there's a hole here. The hose will then just slide over the top. You may have to twist it around a bit and then slide that in as far as it'll go, and then push that clamp forward so it's going to be on top of the metal that the hose is sitting on, and then just tighten that down. That'll then stop that from sliding off. And then to operate this on the front, once it's plugged in, you can hit the power button, it'll light up red, and then you'll hear the fan start working. So this dial just controls the speed. So 0 is off, then 100 will be full speed. And then you can just adjust this to whatever you require. So if you're noticing a lot of fumes from the UV, turn that up a bit, it'll start pulling them out and filtering them a bit more. Or if you don't need much, you can just keep it low. And then to turn it off, you just press that button.